crank up the tunes to deal with the travel headaches in today's big deal. Families along the East Coast know all too well about how heavy rain can do more than ruin those beach days, but they
all weekend long. Here comes our area of low pressure, and we're going to be watching it today. Scoot up here into the southeast, off the coast, staying offshore for now, but that rain pushing onshore, which is really key, right, in terms of your impacts. And as we get through today and then tomorrow, it pushes farther inland, and we're going to be watching that, especially south and North Carolina, parts of Georgia. We'll get into some of that rainfall. Today, it's wet on parts of I-95. Rainfall could be heavy at times. There could be lightning, and we certainly could see some gusty winds just with the general pattern that we're in, and of course with thunderstorms. That's always a possibility. But as we get through today and then tomorrow into Sunday and then Sunday into Monday, the same zone is going to be getting rainfall. So we do have possible flash flooding. You can see how it's in North Carolina. You're really in the heart of it every single day, just with that chance of rain. Wilmington, looking at you, just because last week, this time, we were dealing with some flash flooding in the area. Now, we do have some coastal flooding concerns because of that. We got New Bern under coastal flood warning, coastal flood advisory surrounding that here. Just a north wind right now affecting us. And that wind direction will matter, where who's going to get the persistent push of water causing those coastal concerns. Now, today, 3 to 5 inches, not today, through Monday, 3 to 5 inches of rain, a possibility from parts of South Carolina, including around Myrtle Beach to North Carolina, including coast of Wilmington. Widespread 1 to 2 Virginia Beach, all of the Outer Banks. As you can see, this whole stretch of coastline getting into some rain, but inland lakes and backyards and everyone else with the chance of rain for the holiday weekend. Alex, now, thunderstorms will be today. When it comes to travel, before noon and then after 6 o'clock, but all the other times in between, from a volume standpoint. Sorry, it is a Friday, and I didn't have a lot of sleep last night. It is a Friday, but you're going to be dealing with weather ramping up here once you get later into the day as well. So that's the complicating factor. Even though volume might come down after 6, we're going to have some thunderstorms to deal with. We look at some showers out there in Salt Lake City right now. Of course, we're watching what's happening across Nebraska, but thunderstorms through the day ramping up in some of the similar timing that Alex talked about here farther south. We're going to be watching for that afternoon and then evening thunderstorm activity. That existing storm in Nebraska, will watch that fizzle. Then we see your afternoon storms develop all across the region, and we've got much of Wyoming, Montana with thunderstorms. Billings, you can see storms coming through about 7 o'clock or so for you, and then around Scotts Bluff maybe into western South Dakota, thunderstorms coming your way. Now, tomorrow's also a chance that we get some storms still in this area. There's a small little narrow region where we could get the risk of severe weather. Certainly not as big of a deal as today in terms of that chance, but it is there. And there's still going to be other thunderstorms out there with lightning, which is always a risk. Even if they don't bring hail or damaging winds, thunderstorms can be a concern if you are outside. Now, we see your Saturday evening forecast, scattered showers over Wyoming. Again, some thunderstorms possible, maybe right here around Gillette, Wyoming. Scattered showers still possible over Idaho, including around Idaho Falls. Not likely to be severe, but you could get some lightning out of some of those. And then Miles City, let's watch you by evening. There could be some stronger winds coming out of that cluster, or maybe a complex of storms developing right around Rapid City. And we'll be watching that as we get into the overnight hours. This is now Saturday into Sunday, and then Sunday we do it again. Do you notice this just moves a little bit to the east here? Not much, and it's still a very skinny area, but it's still a zone that we have to watch for that chance of thunderstorms going potentially strong or severe. All right, so rainfall, overall, it's probably up to an inch, less than that. There might be some pockets of heavier rainfall that we will see out there in spots here into Montana, including around Miles City, where, we could get an inch of rain going into the summer months. This is always a good thing. As long as we don't get too much, as long as we don't have flash flooding, we are thankful to get some rain this time of year. So this is certainly something that we are keeping an eye on. And Alex, are we watching something else over there?
Yeah, you said it, Jen. At this point, and the good news is you look at that radar picture is the steadiest of the rains. When you look at the radar, has kind of shifted out of that zone. So that's a better situation. You at least want to see the rain stopping. It's going to take some time for the water to recede, but at least we're getting rid of the heaviest rains that we have seen.
These are some of the estimates for totals. Look at this, 9.3. Now, it's a radar estimate. Maybe it's 8. maybe it's 10, right? But it's in that ballpark, and we're looking at a very small area that got that, but often that's what triggers these kinds of events. It's a very localized heavy rainfall rate, and we saw surrounding that lots of 3 or 4 inch rainfall totals, which is a lot of rain.
It really is. There's some ground truth in Stratton of 6 inches of rainfall showing up there. More reports coming in. The Hitchcock County Dispatch reporting a citizen there with about 5 inches of rain showing up there, and there's another report of water on roads and basically shutting down some of these roads with water rescues taking place. So, yeah, localized zone where we do have this issue. But again, the folks there are being impacted, and that's why that flash flood emergency is now in place.
Yeah, when there's a flash flood emergency issued, and there's not that many of these, emergency managers declare state of emergency. Locations normally safe during flash flooding may not be here, and they could experience life-threatening situations and often multiple swift water rescues, which we see happening this morning in western Nebraska. Well, emergency response teams remain on the
this is an issue that we're still dealing with here in Guam. Again, the system well away, but the issues are still being felt right now. And Jen, when we saw this satellite view yesterday and we were looking at it, we were just looking at all of the different signs, we thought this thing is not slowing down. This thing is going to potentially even increase in strength, and that's exactly what it did.
And it did 180 mile per hour. You can just see the satellite presentation of it. It looks evil. I mean, you see that eye, very concentric there, very tight in the circulation. It's a big eye as well. And the storm itself has grown in size here. I think we're really lucky that it had not reached this intensity when it was over Guam, because it was on a strengthening path. And then it went through the eye well placement. It happened to be at that time. I mean, it doesn't know about a little island like Guam. That's not disrupting the circulation. Here's
another view here of it, again, on the satellite. And again, just clearly getting a big picture of just how powerful this storm is right now that is marching its way through the waters. And again, the good news, it is just moving through the waters as opposed to hitting any landmass. The visible satellite as well, again, clearly picking out where that eye is right in there as it tracks to the north and the west.
Now, it is supposed to decrease in intensity before it gets to the Philippines, and it is expected to make a turn, too. There could be some influences with moisture coming in, maybe to the northern part of the island chain. Taiwan as well, we'll keep an eye on, but you notice how that turn is expected, and a weakening, though, 80 miles per hour is still something here, but it's just not super typhoon 180 miles per hour.
Yeah, a beast of a storm, no doubt. Well, don't forget our question
to get together with the friends and the family for the holiday. Oh, this looks nice, especially as the sun sets, right? You get the heat of the fire, and maybe we're going to make some s'mores. So we've got your bonfire forecast presented by Hershey S'mores. And let's take a look at that forecast for you. Knoxville, Tennessee this evening looks beautiful. Temps are going to be in the upper 70s, gently lowering into the lower 70s or upper 60s. No rain in the forecast. Great bonfire night. What about Binghamton, New York? Maybe you're heading out along Duck Pond. You got a view of the water. We're going to be looking for a great evening. Clear skies.
And just for the most part, seems like things are moving smoothly, despite the fact that, it is crowded.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's pretty busy here, guys, and I have something that I think you're going to like. We always love numbers and comparisons. So we do know that Hartsfield-Jackson this day, only this Friday compared to the entire holiday, expecting 352,000 people to go through this airport today. So I looked at some city populations, different places across the country. Let's talk about cities like, New Orleans, Cleveland, and also Tampa all have populations right above 350,000. So think about that. One of those cities, the entire city, going through this airport today. That's what this airport is expecting. And when we're talking about the totality of the holiday travel season here, as far as just the Memorial Day holiday, 2.1 million people will go through this one airport over the 5 days that make up the Memorial Day holiday. So we're talking about a lot of folks. And in fact, take a look at some time-lapse video.
We do have an area of low pressure going to move up along the coast, bringing with it the rain, the wind, the clouds, the cooler temperatures, kind of raw, all of it here. And there could be some delays here. Roads, wet roads definitely slow things down, or you have to slow down, or the accidents happen, right? We've got I-95 and 17 and all roads here through the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Southeast are going to be dealing with this weekend. Rain right now has been spreading in. We've been seeing that around Myrtle Beach. At times you've had some rain. At the moment it isn't, but you've had some rain already this morning. Wilmington is raining right now. You notice that the bulk of the moisture at this time is offshore, but it's all going to be pivoting back in, and we are watching and waiting for the rainfall to come in through the weekend. It could lead to flooding and flash flooding. We've got that concern concern, especially high right here from southeastern North Carolina into South Carolina, including Wilmington and Myrtle Beach, but extends all the way to the Smoky Mountains for heavy rain. Well underway for millions of Americans, including those in Sacramento, California. Here's the story.
Yeah, you'll want to be sure to pack your hiking boots for today's road trip. We're traveling back in time more than 700 years ago to a time when the ancestral Pueblo people actually made their homes in the cliff drawings of Mesa Verde. So
yes.
That looks pretty good indeed there. Of course, you don't want to forget our question of the day, as many are going to be hitting up the roads, heading to their Memorial Holiday weekend destinations. And you know what? That's the time when you fire up the playlist, right? Those long road trips, you got to have some tunes to kind of keep you awake and alert. So we want to know, what is your road trip soundtrack? Tell us what is on your playlist as you travel this holiday season.
You change your playlist, actually, but there is still some smoke way up high in the sky, I would say, from southern Illinois all the way up through parts of the northern plains.
Yeah,
still there.
Still around. Wow. Well, forecast your force to the northeast. It's going to be lovely times out there for us today. Really a good today, and should be rest of the weekend, too.
And warming up here steadily each day. We're still running a little below average, especially in the mornings and late evenings. All right, the Weather Channel helping you plan for all of your big events ahead. And yes, Mother Nature says no days off.
None.
No.
Not at all. Despite the fact that a lot of us are going to be getting out there doing some traveling. Busy travel season. It is underway. Most will be going by car, but air travel, experiencing some big changes for this summer.
I really noticed it ramping up yesterday. The traffic was...
Rush hour seemed to be all day.
All day, exactly. Well, millions will have that extra day away from work, so we'll give you an extra stamp today on your passport to the parks. We've got 2 stops today.
Well, you may need to crank up the tunes to deal with the travel headaches in today's big deal.
Nature, it does still have a slight chance of development, but, you know, it's going to be on a front. And, you know, when lows are on fronts, they're not tropical in nature. However, it's a low pressure, and it's going to be, with the circulation around it, throwing the moisture in. And think about how a low pressure rotates like that. So here comes all that moisture here, especially on that east side of the low, or in this case, the north side of the low. So we've got from Savannah to Charleston all the way up to the Outer Banks. We're going to be in that persistent onshore flow of moisture. Watching for rainfall to be heavy at times. The risk of flash flooding through Saturday morning goes right here from South Carolina to North Carolina, expanding and then pushing inland Saturday to Sunday, and then also Sunday still lingering into Monday. We see that risk of heavy rainfall leading to possible flash flooding in almost the same zone, just including a little bit more of Virginia at that point. Now, here we go today with rainfall. Some of it in Florida. I-95 will be one of those roads you're in and out of the rain. It won't necessarily be the whole way on 95 that you'll get it. 17, well, I think that's a different story. If you're traveling through South and North Carolina, be ready for some heavy rainfall there. There are actually some coastal flood concerns, and there's a coastal flood warning right now around the New Bern area. We've got a wind coming in from the north at the moment, and that's going to bring a push of water in from that direction. Wind direction always matters for these coastal flood concerns, and especially around the time of high tide, about an hour or two before and after, you can always get some increased concerns as well. Now, we've got 3 to 5 inches of rain in the forecast through Monday, and an area from eastern South Carolina to southeastern North Carolina. That does include Myrtle Beach, but a very widespread 1 to 2 inches of rain with pockets of heavier rain, maybe even getting to 2 to 3. And that includes Charlotte. That includes up towards Raleigh and the Triangle, Winston-Salem, Greensboro. So there's a lot of cities that are going to have a pretty wet holiday weekend coming your way. What's going on is not just the low pressure, but also there's a really strong high pressure up to the north over the northeast. That's why you are all bundled up this morning in Pennsylvania, New York, and Massachusetts. But that high pressure and low pressure, the combination of the two, will give us a pretty strong onshore wind, and so wind advisories are up across this area. Also, that's going to lead to rip current concern, and we do have those higher risk of rip currents here from South Carolina and then in pockets all the way down the east coast of Florida. Alex?
Well, severe storm.
And let's look at where we're going to be watching for that. This red zone, again, from Colorado, including Denver. We had some hail at the Rockies game last night. I know it was lightning, not hail there. We're going to be watching for some storms all the way up I-25, though, and that's going to be affecting your travelers. Now, for this holiday, they're saying today, if you have to travel today, this is going to be one of the busiest on the roads, that you either want to go after 6 or before noon. And so after 6, though, happens to line up with where we're going to be getting into more thunderstorm activity. Right now, at the moment, the main storm that we are watching here is in Nebraska, where we still have flash flood concerns. Still, that flash flood emergency remains in effect. This goes until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Parts of Hitchcock County, Palisades, Stratton contained in this. We had estimates of 9 inches of rain, and we had confirmed rainfall of at least 6 inches across this zone. And so that's what led to this flash flood emergency, the very heavy rainfall and the fact that it came down at such a fast rate. Watching that storm, thankfully it's weakening and moving out of the area hardest hit. But then later on today, we're going to watch for new storms to develop. And again, all hazards are possible across the zone, but with winds, damaging winds and hail, one of the main threats. Now, we see this, that lifts out and fizzles. Then we see the new storms start to develop. About 3 to 4 or 5 o'clock or so, things start to develop and then increasing here in coverage as we get through the evening hours, watching that throughout much of Montana, Wyoming, even into northern parts of Utah as well. You'll be seeing some thunderstorms. Thunderstorms tomorrow have a similar trajectory. We see that moving from south to north and maybe moving it just a little bit further to the east. Not much. It's a very skinny area, actually, that corridor where we could see that risk of thunderstorms going severe. There will be showers elsewhere, though, too. Some possibly with lightning, which will be affecting your outdoor plans. You see a smattering of this all over the area. Billings, Miles City, Rapid City. We've got thunderstorms coming our way here potentially tomorrow evening. As up if you're doing any hiking in the area. And then into Nebraska, we could again see storms. Have to keep an eye on what of this congeals into a cluster of storms in the overnight hours. That does happen this time of year, so we'll have to watch for that, getting it overnight Saturday into Sunday, and then Sunday we pick it up again with a chance of storms. Finally, moving it just a little more further to the east here, so maybe we take Denver out of it, but still parts of eastern Colorado, and we see the chance of storms again in Rapid City up through parts of North Dakota to North Dakota. Rainfall overall should be less than an inch unless you get stuck underneath a thunderstorm that isn't moving very much. All right, so watching storms there for travel. Alex, you know, I think there is a lot of good weather. We haven't focused on how nice it's going to be around the Great Lakes, the Northeast, you know, without travel problems. That's good.
Vast majority of us will be enjoying some really, really nice weather. But we do want to point out the areas where it may not be so great out there for you.
Probably why you're here.
Exactly. Well, the summer travel season, no doubt, is off to the races. Literally, spring has hit the finish line.
The 70s, 80s, 90s.
No 60s?
BPM, no. I didn't put the 60s. And, of course, all the country.
One item to add to your list of holiday essentials is that sunscreen. Today is National Don't Fry Day. Now, we're not talking about frying food.
Which is what one of our show producers was thinking.
The National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention is trying to raise awareness and bring down skin cancer rates.
CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has one woman's battle with skin cancer and her message for others.
Moved on through. Fortunately, we didn't get the biggest brunt, but enough of a brunt to cause some big problems.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strong Cat 4, and actually the strongest on record during the month of May for the island of Guam. So very significant. I think we're just incredibly lucky that we didn't get this version of malware.
My goodness. And in fact, even though this version now with the latest update is actually a little bit less than what it was. Last hour we checked in on it, 185 mile per hour winds. Now it's down to 165. You say down to 165 like that's weak. This is still an incredibly very powerful, the equivalent of what would be a Category 5, a hurricane.
Now, in its projected path going forward, we do expect the trend to be weakening, not strengthening, although, you know, maybe not significantly for another couple of days. From the visible satellite, you can see still how just structured that eye is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Still very concentric. So, yeah, again, a very buzzsaw system. As Jen talked about, though, it is expected to weaken in the coming days, but still, there's still a typhoon as it approaches some of the northern islands of the Philippines and maybe even Taiwan. We'll have to watch out there.
All right, time now for just to be more efficient, and we'll help out with thunderstorms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get you there maybe a little quicker as well. I mean, it really ends up being a win-win for everyone.
Right. Use less gas, get there quicker. I mean, we want to do that when we're driving, don't we, as well?
Absolutely.
Let's look for the deals. Let's look for the weather, which might actually be disrupting your plans. I want to take you into the forecast for travel on I-95 because we do have some rain in the forecast. Not the whole stretch, not top to bottom, but especially in the mid-Atlantic. We got to keep an eye on things. Today, I would say more of the clouds and really cloudy days are a good thing to drive in, don't you think? You don't have that sun glare. Visibility might be a little bit better. But look at all this rain that is lurking. So this comes in as we get into the next, 24 hours, maybe even less. Right now, rain has moved into Myrtle Beach. It's still not raining yet in Charleston or Savannah, but rain has also moved into Wilmington, where we've got that north wind kind of bringing in that moisture. It's a little breezy out there right now, but get ready for it to get windier. Wind advisories are up here right along the coast especially, and inland lake wind advisories are up as well. This is such a big boating weekend. I know you wanted to get your boat out. Maybe you're leaving work early today so you can get it out early here on this Friday afternoon. The wind is going to be a big factor. It maybe just keep you back here from heading out. Now, the rainfall will be heavy at times, and there is some possible flash flooding. Roads to watch for that tomorrow do include I-95 and much more of South and North Carolina. So today it'll be more along the coast. Tomorrow everything expands, and then so we bring in pretty much 85, 95, traveling 26, going to be wet. If you're traveling 40, it's going to be wet. Ponding of water on the roadways is possible. The heaviest of rain, though, will be closer to the coast, and maybe just inland a little bit. We have winds that will be picking up 25, 30 miles per hour. You know, that's why those lake wind advisories are up there. Even if it's not raining in Columbia, you'll get some gusty winds. This is all throughout the day on Saturday, spreading out here across South and North Carolina, even to the Smoky Mountains, maybe even East Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. We see some of the impacts of the system, and up through Virginia, too, Sunday into Monday, getting into the rain and the gusty winds and the cloudy skies and the raw and cool conditions. Rainfall will be heavy, and by the time we get to Monday, it could be adding up perhaps 3 to 5 inches right here around Myrtle Beach or Wilmington, North Carolina. One other spot to watch for storms, back to the Southern Plains.
Yeah, there's no easy feat. Not only is the park remote, the first cliff dwellings are 21 miles from the entrance along a steep and winding road, but it takes some extra planning before showing up.
Joining us now to help sort it all out is former park ranger and founder of Dirt in My Shoes, Ash Nudd. Ash, thank you so much for joining us. Now, whenever you go to a national park, or any of us do, we want to make sure to hit up all those can't miss places. At Mesa Verde, that's the biggest and most impressive cliff dwellings. And you say it's crucial to plan ahead. So what's the best way? This is a must-see kind of place to be. What is the Cliff Palace? What makes it so special?
So Cliff Palace is the...
You get a chance to be educated about the area as well. Now, for our adventure seekers, there's a particular tour that has you climbing and crawling through some of the dwellings. Tell us more about Balcony House.
Do that.
Yeah. Ash Judd, former park ranger, founder of Dirt in My Shoes. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to check this out. I did not know this existed. I love how much we're learning in this passport to the parks.
I don't know if we have a lifetime to be able to get to these places, but yeah.
I really spend a lot of time, you know. Yeah. All right, my video pick of the week. Oh, wait, let's look at your forecast quick here. More hail.
More hail. Yeah, we don't seem to really get much of a break here in terms of the threat for the storms, some severe for the day.
Now, my video pick of the week is State College, Pennsylvania.
Skies, but I tell you, setting up to be what should be a really nice holiday weekend for us here around the Great Lakes in the Northeast.
The haze is gone. High pressure has moved in. It's beautiful. It's maybe a little on the chilly side today, but it warms up every day this weekend.
Gradually warming. This will be something for everyone. People who like the cooler stuff get that now, and then the warmer stuff comes later on.
All right, video of the week, pick the Weather Channel helping you plan for all of your big events ahead, whether it is travel or maybe a backyard picnic, graduation parties. We've got it covered. Some rain out there. But Alex, let's say this. We don't have a big severe outbreak or a tropical system.
Yes, all good things.
But then there's these pockets of just really crummy weather that are still going to affect your plans.
Just little gnats.
Yeah.
You just try to swat them away, right? So watch out for that. We're going to be, of course, talking about travels here for you. If you're heading by car or by air, we're going to experience some big changes for this summer.
Millions will have that extra day away from work, so we will give you an extra stamp on your passport to the parks. 2 stops today.
2?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you
Rare.
may
But we occasionally do it.
Yes, indeed we do. Learn a lot from it too, right? Well, you may need to crank up the tunes to deal with the travel headaches in today's big deal. Families along the East Coast know all too well about how heavy rain can do more than ruin beach days. But as the summer season, that means more opportunity for bags to get separated from travelers. What can passengers do if that happens, and how will airlines be held accountable?
Well, if an airline
Is what to do with families who want to stay together, sit together despite their seat assignments. How do you suggest travelers and airlines work out those kind of issues?
Well, look, ever since.
Now, Mr. Secretary, as we look internationally, right? France, they plan to ban flights under 2.5 hours to reduce carbon emissions. Is that even something feasible for the U.S.? And how do we boost the use of alternatives like high-speed rail?
I don't think banning.
Good points. Now, you are about to get on a plane, so we need to ask the question, do you prefer the aisle or the window, and why?
Yeah, I prefer the window.
No, he is a window man. Thanks so much, U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. You can see some of the changes and see your passenger bill of rights at transportation.gov.
And I think he can moonlight as the weather reporter because he did a great little weather report there
Sure
at the beginning, updating us. The weather good today in Chicago when it comes to travel, but